Hi everyone, it's Brendan Pern here, Head of Year 11, and a special welcome to our new families that have joined us this year, and a warm welcome back to everyone to the Year 11 team. It's not quite the way that we were hoping to meet with you this year, but look, thanks for your patience and your understanding as we've adapted to all of the challenges that COVID have thrown us in just 2.5 short weeks. For our information evening, what I thought I'd share with us with the Year 11 journey is a little bit more of the insight of the team that sits behind us in Year 11, but also a little bit more about the journey ahead and what to expect and the challenges and the solutions that we'll all face. Really looking forward to working with you all again. We've got a great team on board, and hopefully you'll find these next couple of minutes helpful to at least navigate. And as always, look, please reach out to the mentors or myself if you have any questions following any of the information provided this evening. Our team is back on board. A warm welcome to Tamara Murphy to the Olympia unit, and she's quite an asset to us as well, being the new Pathways Coordinator here at MLC, and I'll talk about her role in a little while. But got a great breadth of knowledge sitting across the campus in sport and textiles, maths, myself in music, English. So the mentor team that sits with our girls this year continues to have a really great access to all areas of the college life. Further behind that, it's really important, I think, to introduce a couple of other people that sit behind Team Year 11. With the greatest of respect to Mr. Chris Kelly, he's someone that we work through with our MLP processes, but for us on the Year 11 level, probably our most important contact at the moment is Dr. Rachel Clifton-Sims. As the head of academics, she's the one that will help us process through course changes and course advice, checking in to make sure that we're meeting WACE requirements and SCARSA requirements. And if at any time we find ourselves unsure, uncertain of options and courses that we've chosen, it's a great person to reach out to in the first instance. And certainly as far as course changes go, all of those processes do have to travel through Dr. Clifton-Sims. For those people that are still sitting OLNA, you've probably heard from Rachel already, but she also manages our OLNA assessments as they occur. And is also responsible for our sickness and misadventure forms. Now, it's really important, I think, in Year 11 and 12, if you haven't had a look at Rachel's presentation yet, it's well worth checking out. You'll see there's a little bit of information about the online processes for sickness and misadventure forms. And I think it's really important in Year 11 for you to realise and understand that any impacts that COVID may or may not have for us in the Year 11 world, whether it's on assessments, whether it's on access to face-to-face learning, please be assured, and we've tried our best to assure the students as well, there are SCARSA processes in place to help protect that. So even in the worst case of scenarios, we've got really easy, accessible solutions to make sure that the integrity of students' work throughout Year 11 is not impacted by COVID. So fingers crossed we don't have to journey that too much harder than what we already are, but know that we've got that backing in place. Ms. Melanie Lee, the Head of Inclusive Learning, she's also a wonderful support to us, particularly for students that we apply to SCARSA for any accommodations for examination plans and assessment strategies. So again, if you have any concerns or questions that way, please reach out either through me or directly to Ms. Lee, and we'll be able to explain those processes and help step them through. Ms. Tamara Murphy, who I mentioned earlier, is a wonderful asset to the college with a wealth of experience in the Vet Pathways program. So she'll be looking after many of our students that are doing certificate courses across the next 2 years. So if you are on a cert pathway, certainly have an eye out for messages from Tamara Murphy. And finally, of course, our clinical psychologist for the year level is Miss Melanie Jorgensen, who worked with us a couple of years ago now whilst Tanya Henry is on parental leave. So really excited to have Melanie back on board. And again, if you need any help in accessing any of those supports, please reach out either directly to the individual, or please reach out to me and I'll be able to introduce you. Look, let's be honest, you've probably noticed over the first couple of weeks, Year 11 is a big step. It doesn't matter the pathway, whether it's an ATAR pathway, a general or a cert. We do notice over those first couple of weeks that the Year 11s now have to adjust to new styles of learning, new ownership of how they learn and the way that they access their courses and the way that they have to take more ownership. So it's not unusual in these first couple of weeks, if you've had a few brisk moments at home as people sort of adjust to the new. These are quite normal reactions to the change of Year 10 to Year 11. It's normal to have those doubts and those surprises, and I think the tricky point for all of us here is making sure that we keep an eye on that balance. Supporting our students to make sure that they've got the belief in themselves to step through it, but also keeping an eye out to make sure that we encourage them to reach out when they need that support and not sure whether they're backing themselves in. I will share with you, we're probably, depending on when you're watching this, we're probably about a week and a half away from the first sort of crush of assessments. Pretty harsh word when you think about it, but really it's all of the courses start to hit that first sort of unit or topic they'll start to assess upon. So you will notice in the next couple of weeks, maybe a couple of frayed tempers at home as they travel those stresses. Again, these are quite normal developments, but that doesn't mean that we turn a blind eye to it. So if you are worried about that course load or how your daughter is travelling that journey when those assessment cycles happen, reach out either through the mentors to the teacher, to myself. Make sure that we've got that balance in place. I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but we all notice it. I think even as teachers, as students travel those stressful times, it's normal to see those anxieties rise and fall. We just have to make sure that they stay in that sort of normal range and they don't become either over-heightened or under. If there are any problems that occur the way, obviously reach out. More importantly though, by Year 11 and certainly for Year 12, encourage your daughter to do the reach out. There's so much empowerment that comes from helping a young person realise that they have the ability to solve the problem, that they can take the ownership. Here's the challenge, here's a way possibly to find a solution and then to see it through step by step. So without needing to take over their problem, try to help them and encourage them to take that step forward, because that life skill is a really critical one, and I think it's one that we can help achieve really well in Year 11 to set up an even more positive Year 12. All of the normal doubts throughout Year 11, am I doing the right courses? I don't know what I want to do. I keep on getting asked about future. It's okay not to know. Some people do have an idea where they want to travel and they step that journey. Other people don't, and there's no right or wrong to that statement. So it's really important not to let the guilt of those indecisions rule the roost. Again, reach out. We can sit down with Dr. Clifton Sims and help navigate some of those questions as the journey unfolds. I thought, as we're talking about this journey in Year 11, it's probably not a bad idea just to talk about some of the routines and the structures that we find really valuable in successful Year 11 journeys. Certainly, look, by all means, take the time to enjoy the little things. Year 11 and Year 12, you will start to notice the stresses and the rise and fall of assessments and exams. You will notice that journey. So take time to find the little things to enjoy. Put things into perspective, and that's a really healthy mindset to develop for our young people leaving as well, is to find the perspective in what they're doing, that eliminating that catastrophizing of elements and knowing that each little step gets you in a more positive place. You'll notice that study times differ from family to family, and it's really important that you recognise that everybody studies in a slightly different way. What worked for you as a student might not actually be that beneficial to to your daughter. What works for your friend's daughter might be different as well. So encourage them to find their own strength in that. Finding the short spurts of time, say 20 to 30 minutes, and then having a break is a really powerful way for study. We're finding in a lot of studies recently that old traditional, I'm going to sit down for 3 hours and smash out my literature study, we're finding in brain mapping and things like that it's actually only about 20 to 30 minutes of that information that stays relative. So finding that way to break it up into smaller chunks is a really positive step. Getting into a settled routine and helping support that routine through healthy choices as well. You'll hear us throughout the year talking a lot about perspective, but helping to find that balanced lifestyle approach as well. I think, look, one of the most important things that we can chat about as Year 11s is the importance of sleep. No matter what the journey is, a really healthy sleep cycle in our students is really quite important. A lot of research is suggesting for Year 11s it should be around about 9 hours. Now you might be laughing at this point, thinking that your teenage daughters are getting 9 hours sleep. And there'll always be, weeks and days where sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. But it's really important to keep an eye on that. That sleep and that downtime for the brain is really quite important. Keep your ear out for conversations, especially if students are saying that they're not sleeping well, just to help unpack some of that and establish a healthy sleep routine. Creating that positive study environment, we know it's hard work, but creating that positive element to it, rather than that kind of grueling or punishing sort of tone, is a really healthy way to approach that kind of problem as well. I've written up on one of the dot points here about removing technology. Now that's a tricky one because we know how dependent we are on technology for our learning. So I've kind of framed it in the idea of distracting technology. When we come to exam times and assessment times, one of the most powerful things that I've seen previous year levels do is as a group, they kind of set aside these rules at certain places where they're not going to interact on their social media at certain times, or they're going to keep that focus purely on their study or their revision. And I think there's something really powerful in that in the group, that it's about making sure that what they're doing, particularly with technology, stays on that positive side. So when we talk about removing technology, certainly in that 45 minutes before sleep time, really important to empower the students and our Year 11s to switch off devices and take that ownership. If you're discussing things in your family units and things like that, make it a part of their decision-making process rather than feeling like you have to remove their devices on their behalf, but make it a part of their ownership and find a way to switch off and remove those digital distractions for a good 30 to 45 minutes before sleep. We're finding that screen time immediately before sleep is a stimulant to the brain patterns and really has a big effect on helping students get to sleep quickly and helping get a really deep sleep through the night. Our policy for phones and mobile technology in Year 11 and 12 on the campus is very much about age-appropriate ownership. So in Year 11 and 12, the students are allowed to have their phones on them during the day. They're not expected to be on or accessing them, but they're allowed to have them on them. Certainly, not expected to be social media and things at recess and lunch. We know that has challenges, but again, this is all about teaching our students about the real world and being able to manage that and navigate. Look, there'll be problems along the way, whether it's infringements and things like that, but again, that's about developing that process. And again, if you've got any concerns about digital usage and excessive usage, then please reach out, because there's plenty of resources that we can help share with you and navigate together as well. On to mentor-mentee time, a little bit about the day-to-day. So this year in Year 11, we're trying to explore things a little bit differently. I'm being really conscious, at least in term 1, to separate the idea of MMT from our wellbeing time, and I'll talk about that in our next slide. MMT time, there's a great 15 minutes each morning. We've added 5 minutes into our morning routines, and it's a really great time to help focus and settle for the day. It's time to have a look at the day ahead or the week ahead, send out any messages that they might need, obviously all of the notices and daily bulletins as well, but it's a really healthy time to help set up the day well. So that 15 minutes, I think everybody over these last 2 weeks, mentors included, have noticed actually that extra 5 minutes to help unpack the day or plan ahead or reach out where needed has actually become really quite a brilliant use of time. We also then have our long extended sessions on the Thursday morning period 1 and Friday period 6 in the way that we did last year. The Wellbeing Programme, like I mentioned earlier, is for me about giving our students a world-relevant experience. So in term 1, I've taken a bit of a step to explore a different option for wellbeing sessions. We're doing a very practical mindset. We're trying to model the ideas of which we've been talking to our students over the last couple of years with wellbeing, about finding a life balance, making sure that they take time to slow things down. So over term 1, you may have heard some discussions around, we've put aside about 4 or 5 wellbeing sessions where the students engage on activities that are not outcomes based or school assessed or filling out forms on balancing their life, but actually modelling that kind of lifestyle. So they're opting into things like a river walk for the period. There's some quiet colouring in or reading for pleasure activities, some gentle yoga sessions coming up later as well. The students get to choose which options that they log into. And I'm looking forward to the review at the end of term 1, because I think it's been that big step that we've noticed between the theory and the practical. It's all great to talk about balancing your life and putting aside time in your busy weeks and schedules to find time to just unwind. But unless we actually model that and share that with our students and how to apply that in their life, I think that's where the real benefit comes. So depending on when you're watching this, we may have already had one session of this modelling of wellbeing, but hopefully by the end of the term we'll hear lots more of it, and we'll be able to explore and review that appropriately. Throughout the rest of the year and into next year as well, obviously a lot of our wellbeing program covers some of the real world issues and support that we want our year 11s and 12s to be able to leave the college set up well for the life ahead. So there's modules covering study tips as we approach into the exam periods, and then also obviously about protective behaviours and keeping safe as they face the real world. I know each parent information evening that I've done, everyone's really just interested in the dates, so I'll probably pause for a little bit and let you sink that in, or just hit pause so you can scribble it all down. But I do, and in all seriousness, do want to just remind you, look, we live in COVID times at the moment, and you would have noticed over the last 10 days alone the number of updates from the Chief Health Officer that we get around all of our events. So it's really important, do stay linked into community announcements as they come through emails, and also the Wyvern is a really important way of sharing information. It's a busy place even without COVID, but with COVID, obviously we need to make sure that we navigate all of our events, everything that we do through those Chief Health Officer protocols. So I do appreciate your patience, and sometimes, it can be frustrating because it takes a little bit of time to unpack things, but I do appreciate your patience as we navigate that journey. Hopefully it starts to become less impacting across the year, but obviously we need to be mindful of that. Big one obviously for us in term 2 is the exams coming up in week 5 and 6, and obviously the exams again in term 4 in weeks 5 and 6 as well. Whilst we're on the events, the social event that's coming up in term 2, you would have noticed Rosemary Dunn's, the Deputy Principal, her announcement the other day. Really important that when we visit external venues now, They have a requirement from the state government to have over 16-year-olds double vaccinated and providing a proof of that vaccination status as well. And I can imagine as we travel into next year's events in Year 12s, look, those requirements are more than likely still going to be in place. So really important over the next couple of weeks and months to get on top of that. And of course, if you do have any concerns in that area, reach out and know that we'll look after that inquiry confidentially and respectfully as well. Travelling throughout the rest of the year, as I said, we've got exams at the midpoint of Term 4 and then obviously the set up into Year 12. Last little note I thought I'd mention is just the uniform. A lot of my messages over the last week or two with the Year 11s, the kind of adjusting period into Year 11 is settling down now, and just a reminder of those uniform requirements. Look, the most common thing that we find in the boundary pushing of Year 11 tends to be the short skirt not being met at the knee, and also the multiple earrings. So you'll see from time to time that your daughters may get an infringement for multiple earrings or for wearing the sport uniform at an inappropriate time and things like that. Look, the language that I use with the Year 11s around all of this, it doesn't mean that the teacher doesn't like them or the person that issued at the gate is a big meanie and is picking on everyone. It really isn't. It's just about helping Year 11s meet that expectation. And as the senior students of the school and the college community as well, it's important that they take that role quite seriously as well. You know, our younger students look up to those Year 11s and 12s. So we talk a lot about that modelling behaviour. Particularly as that, many students that might be interested in the prefect process, that's quite an important part of being a leader, is that modelling of behaviour. The last thing I thought I'd mention, look, it's a busy old place. There's lots of information out there. There's some really handy places for you to have a look and stay in touch. Obviously the Wyvern each week that it comes out. There's also the handbook Connect P for all of the academic programs. We've also got access to the Study Skills Handbook, which is a massive website with a heck of a lot of resources that sit behind it that can be really handy. As always though, if you're unsure or you've noticed something and you're not sure when the date is, just reach out to any one of us and we'll be able to help out and direct you in the right way. Look, I'm really looking forward to the year ahead and next year as well. It's been fantastic having the students back on campus the last couple of weeks, and really enjoy hearing their conversations around courses, where they think they're going, where they're not sure they're going, and helping them through that little journey. It really is the embodiment of that growth mindset, realising that everything is an opportunity to learn, to respond and to grow from, that it's not just about the course and the content, but actually about the life experience that travels with it as well. So look, really looking forward to the year ahead. Can't wait hopefully to catch up with you face to face at an event somewhere. As always, if you have any questions or any concerns that you want to bring up, reach out to either the mentor or myself if it's a pastoral concern. And obviously with academic concerns, go to the teacher, go to the person in the room, and they'll be able to help you out as well. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. If you've managed to last it through the whole 10 minutes now, good on you, and thanks for that. But yeah, looking forward to catching up with you all soon. Thank you.